right now on 5 on your side at 10.
A new month brings new weather challenges as we clean up after Saturday's thunderstorms. Why the chances of flooding rains increase by midweek.
Plus tonight, nursing crisis. 5 on your side gets answers from 750 nurses in the bi-state. What they think about the level of care at local hospitals. But first tonight, a woman killed after a freak accident on I-44.
I would just like to get some answers on what happened.
The flying debris that crashed through her windshield. Tonight, the Missouri State Highway Patrol is asking for the public's help to find the driver responsible. Good evening. Thank you for being with us. I'm Ann Allred. Mike Bush has the night off. The crash happened back on July 22nd on westbound I-44 just east of Lewis Road. Investigators say a loose tire came off a trailer and flew into the windshield of Emily Ludwig's car, killing her. Our Robert Townsend is back after speaking with Ludwig's loved ones just hours ago. Robert.
And Emily Ludwig recently started a new job and she was prepared to move to St. Louis. No one can believe a life full of promise and hope was snuffed away during that bizarre crash.
She loved helping people.
Talk to her family and friends and you'll learn Emily Ludwig was their shining light and had a heart of gold.
I'm very involved in our family. She took care of my brother and my mom.
She was love. She was the person that showed up when you needed it the most.
Shortly after 6 on the evening of July 22nd, Emily drove west on Interstate 44 in South St. Louis County and was headed to Six Flags to meet some friends. But a freak accident suddenly changed everything.
Her friend called her and, to see where she was at. And the officer picked up the phone, and told her that she had been in an accident.
The Missouri State Highway Patrol says a loose tire flew from the eastbound lanes, bounced over the median, smashed through the windshield of Ludwig's white Kia Sorento, and hit her in her head.
It's been very traumatizing. I mean, she was my little sister.
Paramedics rushed the 38-year-old driver to a hospital.
They were trying to get the swelling down. But basically, yeah, she was brain dead right away.
6 days later, on Friday, Emily died. The night before the crash, Emily was at her sister's home.
In all the moments, we had a lot to do together. We had a lot left. She had so much more left.
Emily worked as a social worker for more than 10 years. She enjoyed helping the homeless and people with mental health and substance disorders.
We hope your organs will be donated and bring life and joy to other families.
Kelly Moulton spent days in the ICU by her friend's side.
Innately kind and generous and compassionate. And that was evident with all the clients she worked with.
Now the special social worker who touched many is still helping others.
She's an organ donor, yeah. She's saving 5 people right now.
Investigators tell us right now they only know a 15-inch wheel apparently came off a flatbed or possibly a camper. Now they're asking anyone who saw that crash to call the Missouri State Highway Patrol's Troop C office. The number is 636-300-2800.
We are following breaking news out of Washington County, Illinois. A helicopter pilot is dead after crashing into a cornfield. This happened off Oakdale Blacktop Road, south of Nashville, east of Oakdale. Illinois State Police say the helicopter hit power lines before crashing to the ground. There were no other injuries. The cause is under investigation. Tonight, the power is back on in most parts of the viewing area. Ameren crews have been working overtime to restore service since Saturday's severe storms. Right now, Ameren is reporting less than 500 outages in Missouri and only a few dozen in the Metro East. Right now, it's clear, it's comfortable in St. Louis, but some areas could see showers overnight. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell joining us now with the Weather First forecast. Scott.
We're thinking our heaviest rain overnight is going to end up being across parts of mid-Missouri, perhaps down into the eastern Ozarks, missing St. Louis, but we still have our shot at it this week for sure. Right now, pretty quiet around the area. Clouds have been breaking up east of St. Louis, skies mostly clear. Back to the west and southwest, mostly cloudy at this point. We did have some sprinkles and lighter showers move through earlier today. They've all shifted off to the south of St. Louis. But you kind of get the gist of what's going on here. Back back to our west, we still have the clouds. We're in the 70s. Yes, incredibly comfortable, but look at Wichita at 88, Springfield's 82. There is a boundary down to our south and southwest on the other side of that very warm, steamy air that's being lifted up over that boundary and should create a band of showers and thunderstorms later tonight that develops in parts of mid-Missouri down towards the eastern Ozarks. And so that does prompt a flash flood watch or a flood watch for flash flooding from Columbia all the way down towards the Rolla area. So we should be fairly quiet this evening, but locally heavy rain chances are returning to our area, especially for the metro area early Wednesday morning and again early Thursday morning. It should stay to our west tomorrow morning, and that flooding threat may develop. So we'll keep you updated on that. We'll see you in a few minutes, Ann.
Tonight, the St. Charles County Council tabled a vote on a controversial housing development project. The proposed plan would add more than 400 homes off of Highway Double D near the Bush Wildlife Conservation Area. Neighbors are concerned about traffic and wildlife. The move by the council tonight gives developers more time to work on a plan. No word on when the plan will be reconsidered. Tonight, the city of St. Louis faces a lawsuit over its selection of a new police chief. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Sack alleges he was not promoted because he's white. Sack, who served as interim chief, was considered a frontrunner in the initial search. But Mayor Tashara Jones started a second nationwide search seeking more diversity in candidates. The city ended up hiring Chief Robert Tracy, a white man. Sack's lawsuit claims the mayor made that choice only after 2 black finalists dropped out and to cover up for not giving the job to him. The mayor's office says it cannot comment on pending litigation. One of President Biden's cabinet members rode the Metrolink into East St. Louis today. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg announced more than $200 million in funding to upgrade aging and damaged infrastructure in the St. Louis region. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, reports on the visit.
30 years after the launch of the Metrolink attracted the President of the United States, this light rail car carried some political heavyweights a little farther down the line. The mayor of St. Louis, 2 members of Congress, and the second most powerful member of the U.S. Senate greeted a member of President Biden's cabinet on board.
Mr. Secretary, welcome to my hometown of East St. Louis, Illinois.
Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg announced tens of millions of dollars in funding to update aging infrastructure.
We want to be here to support with dollars as well as words.
A big chunk of that funding going toward disaster recovery from severe floods that waylaid waterlogged rail cars on the tracks last July.
A year since the St. Louis region was hit by flooding that claimed 2 lives, left thousands of homes damaged or destroyed, and I know that this community even now is recovering and rebuilding from that.
Metrolink mechanics here got slammed last summer when floods did $45 million in damage. Now, $27 million in disaster recovery funds is going to replace vehicles like this that have amassed more than 2 million passenger miles.
The Transportation Secretary said there's a fork in the road ahead.
Because the simple reality is that disasters like what this community has faced will happen more and more often. But the good news is transportation doesn't have to just be a casualty of climate change. It can be a big, big part of the solution.
The Biden administration is steering commuters toward public transit and electric vehicles in a push to reduce the heat-trapping gases that choke the planet and send weather patterns into convulsions.
These so-called once-in-a-millennium or once-in-a-century events are happening more and more often.
Climate change is here to stay, and it means fortifying what we have and thinking about the future when we build the next generation of public transit, for example.
And over the long haul, that could mean eventual changes to the way the country taxes travel to fund infrastructure.
If you drive a car or truck, burn gasoline, you pay tax every time you go to the pump. Now, what's going to happen with electric vehicles? There has to be a user tax that applies to their use of the same roads and highways and bridges.
Reporting in East St. Louis, Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.
President Biden's infrastructure plan will help replace rail vehicles through 2026. Tonight, a section of Grand Boulevard is closed off in Midtown. It's because of falling bricks and debris from a crumbling building. The closure is between Washington and Samuel Shepherd Drive. That's right between the Fox Theater and Powell Hall. No word on how long the area will be closed. Tomorrow, the St. Louis Archdiocese will put its All Things New restructuring plan into effect. 178 parishes were set to officially consolidate into 134 within the Archdiocese. But tonight, there's a last-minute reprieve for 7 parishes who properly filed for appeals through the Vatican. They're St. Angela, Marisi in Florissant, St. Martin of Tours in Limay, St. Matthew the Apostle in North St. Louis, St. Roch in the de Bolivar Place neighborhood, and St. Richard in Creve Coeur, St. Francis of Assisi in Franklin County, and St. Catherine of Alexandria in St. Genevieve County. St. Roch Parish Council President Mike Stevens was one of 40 parishioners who issued appeals to the Archbishop. He says they're hopeful the second appeal could go in their favor.
We have very legitimate and serious issues we've raised with the Vatican. We're a very dynamic and evangelical parish that's been a vital component of the St. Louis Catholic tradition in St. Louis.
The Archdiocese of St. Louis says this suspension will stay in place until the Vatican makes a decision, which could take months. Developing tonight, we could be less than 20 hours away from Missouri carrying out its 4th execution of the year. Johnny Johnson is set to die by lethal injection tomorrow night for the 2002 murder of 6-year-old Casey Williamson in Valley Park. Prosecutors say he confessed to beating the girl to death with rocks after trying to sexually assault her. Johnson's attorneys have filed one last appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court to stop tomorrow's execution. Anti-death penalty advocates say Johnson has schizophrenia and should not be executed. A California man now facing 7 felony charges for crashing a boat into a home at the Lake of the Ozarks. Investigators say 47-year-old Adam Ramirez's blood alcohol level was double the legal limit at the time of last week's crash. Ramirez was among the 8 people hurt on that boat. The homeowner, who was sleeping at the time, was not hurt. A crisis in care.
More nurses to take care of the patients. We can't properly care for them.
Tonight, hundreds of St. Louis nurses respond to the I-Team on what's causing career burnout and what can help nurse the industry back to health. Less than 19 hours until the MLB trade deadline, and the St. Louis sell-off may not be over. The Cards who still could be dealt.
The hot, humid weather isn't too far away. How it comes back to create more problems for St. Louis in a way you might not expect.
Nurses are leaving the workforce in record numbers in our area and across the country. Our I-Team wanted to know why it was so bad by asking hundreds of them in a survey. Tonight, our senior investigative reporter Paula Vassan has their answers and solutions happening now.
Off to the left, we're going to have our lab area.
Meet one of the first fast-track nursing classes at Missouri Baptist University.
This is where you're going to have all of our patients that are in the beds.
I heard that you've been having some issues with breathing.
Where students passionate about a career in nursing spend their days with eerily lifelike mannequins.
They blink and they breathe and they talk.
And crunch 2 years of schooling into half that time.
So that's a jam-packed program.
Yes. Yeah, it's very crazy.
Because there's such a need for people like 25-year-old Mackenzie Bishop. For this student, it's a calling.
I grew up helping, my grandparents. They helped raise me, so I helped take care of them.
But often, there are not enough nurses to take care of us. The industry's largest labor union, National Nurses United, tells us corporate executives too often favor profit above safe staffing levels, and it's putting nurses in danger.
I had a full bottle of urine thrown at me, and then just last week I was smacked by a patient.
Says Rachel Williams, a nurse we met outside of St. Louis University Hospital.
We are the nurses!
During a rally for more protection.
What do you see as solutions?
More nurses to take care of the patients. We can't properly care for them.
That's pushing nurses out of the industry. A recent survey of over 270 hospitals found the turnover rate among nurses just last year was about 23%. But we found these students undeterred and hopeful.
And I'm just ready to help someone and help people.
Despite serious challenges.
To find out what exactly nurses are dealing with, we surveyed 749 nurses in our area. To get our survey into the right hands, we sent it to some of the biggest industry organizations, hospital systems, and nursing schools.
Among those who responded, 77% considered leaving the job in the last year. Their top reasons: being underpaid, inadequate staffing, and workplace violence, which our I-Team has shown you over the past year. One person writes, "We had 2 staff members stabbed in the ER." Another writes, "I personally know 2 nurses that were pregnant and kicked in the stomach." 2 miscarriages. It's no surprise then that 92% of people said their workplace is suffering from a staffing crisis. Nurses told us their patients are dealing with longer wait times and medical complications. Nearly half told us patients are leaving the hospital before they should because of not enough people to care for them.
Does that concern you?
It's concerning, but I think you have to remember that this is a calling.
It's why Missouri is trying to get more of that passion in the pipeline. For the first time this year, lawmakers added an extra $5 million into the state budget to help 81 nursing schools in Missouri enroll more students.
We didn't have a nursing program at all, so built it completely from scratch.
I'm just going to give you lungs a quick listen. Are you okay with that?
7 years later, Missouri Baptist University's Dr. Amber Pyatt is seeing her work pay off.
So we're hoping that little by little we can graduate those people that can go out and they can hopefully make some of those changes that can then kind of trickle down.
You're just starting out your career. What do you think needs to change within the industry to make this profession sustainable?
I think increasing the pay a little bit more, decrease the burnout rate, decrease the exhaustion and all of that.
This class will be the industry's future, and they hope to be part of the solution.
For the I-Team, Paula Vasan, 5 on your side.
You can find the full results of our survey posted with this story on KSTK.com. And if you have a tip for Paula and the 5 on your side I-Team, leave a voicemail at 314-444-5231. You can also email Paula. Tips@KSTK.com is the email. All calls and correspondence will be kept confidential. Let's get back with Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell on your Weather First forecast, talking about rain chances this week, Scott.
Yeah, rain chances are definitely returning tonight. Some of us, though, getting a chance to see that nearly full moon. Technically, the full moon's tomorrow, but it's during the daytime when it's actually, 100% full. So we're 99% now. I think that counts, and tomorrow night will be 99%. But there's a look at it. A couple of clouds around, so it's almost an eerie look with that sturgeon moon. We are talking about 77 degrees, pretty comfortable, relatively speaking. The wind is calm. Dew point 66. Our high today was up to 84. 71 was the low. No official measurement of rain at Lambert, but a trace. And we did have a couple of spots that picked up a couple of hundredths of an inch, but not much. Tonight, the better chances for rain will lie well west of St. Louis. Clouds will tend to increase once again. As we take a look at the broader perspective, those earlier sprinkles and showers, which were mostly to our west, sliding southeastbound. More thunderstorms are developing here out over the plains, and those disturbances will just kind of roll right along our way. This boundary that settled through here on Saturday has now shifted down to our south and southwest. This is where we still find very humid, very toasty air. And that air is going to work over that boundary, and then it interacts with these jet stream winds, which drop disturbances in from the northwest, and that leads us into some unsettled weather and potentially some heavy rainfall. That potential for heavy rainfall should be back into mid-Missouri, down into the Ozarks, including Rolla, Lake of the Ozarks, back up towards Columbia, east of Jeff City. This is a flood watch that's in effect from midnight till 10 a.m. tomorrow. This is why we do expect to see a band of showers and storms. Some with heavy rain here, that's the main threat, happening late tonight, early tomorrow morning, mainly to the west of St. Louis, and then dying out tomorrow afternoon. There's a chance some of that rain will get into the metro area, but not a big chance. Fast forward into tomorrow night, we'll see another batch of showers and storms get going. This one should move into or very close to the metro area. Storms with the heavy rain moving from northwest to southeast. So it's a continuation of that, and we may get another round of it going into Wednesday evening into Thursday morning. So we know that early on Wednesday, we have the potential for widespread heavier rain. The downpours moving over the same areas will bring on the chance of increased flooding, so that threat will be there. Here's your rainfall totals through tomorrow evening, mostly to our west. We add in going through Wednesday morning, mostly right on top of us, and then we'll tack some more on going into the nighttime hours there as we go into Wednesday night and Thursday. So at this point, we'll go with our weather alert on Wednesday for the potential of heavy rain and maybe some early morning flooding. Could be a problem. It may repeat as we go into Thursday morning. That's a bit uncertain at this point. Then it'll heat up with lesser storm chances for the first part of the weekend. We'll bring those storm chances back next week. Looks like we start a new month with more wild, wacky weather.
It has been a summer. Scott, thank you. Corey, what's coming up in sports?
Well, and we're counting down the clock on the Cardinals' deadline dealing, and we're going to head to the golf course to remember an unsung hero in the long history of the franchise. Stick around, sports is next.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
Now, we still have about an hour and a half, but it's been a quiet Monday so far for the Cardinals when it comes to wheeling and dealing. With assets still available and teams getting more and more desperate, the Cards could be in a place of power come tomorrow afternoon. So let's break it down and take a look at the likely trade block as it stands. Cabrera, Hicks, Montgomery, and Stratton, well, they're all gone. With about 19 hours left until the deadline, who else could join them? Flaherty, DeYoung, Carlson, O'Neill, Edman, maybe a big surprise? Just because the Cardinals were quiet today doesn't mean it's going to stay that way until 5 p.m. tomorrow. Here's what John Mozeliak had to say yesterday.
The trading deadline hasn't come and gone, right? Today was an event. We moved 3 key players. Do I anticipate more to come? Probably. I've been saying all along, right? Pitching. And we felt like we got a lot of pitching so far. And so if there's something that might not be a pitcher, now we might pursue it. Whereas a lot of what we were focusing on in the last week or so was really trying to find the right pitchers.
We're continuing to look back on the biggest deadline deals in Cardinals history leading up to this deadline, and I'm not sure there was one that brought more excitement than the 1997 deal for Mark McGwire. The Cards sent Eric Ludwig, T.J. Matthews, and Blake Stein to Oakland for Big Mac. A year later, in 1998, he was setting the single-season home run record in a summer to remember. Today was an off day for baseball at Busch Stadium, but Cardinals Care held a golf tournament out at Whitmore Country Club. It's an event that's gone on for 34 years and is the legacy of a man that combines all of his loves in life. With producer Andy Moeller, we remember Ted Savage. Even in his years at Busch Stadium, Ted Savage's mind was on golf.
Teddy actually is the one that got me into playing golf. He gave me my first set of golf clubs.
I mean, he just was so kind of fun and happy about having this tournament, and it was really his heart.
This was absolutely the highlight of his year, every year for 30 years. I mean, the tournament, that's what we live for.
Savage played in the majors over 10 seasons and worked for the Cardinals for another 25. He started the tournament to benefit RBI, reviving baseball in inner cities, but has since benefited more youth programs and organizations in need.
Yeah, I've seen the list, I know the people, I know some of the programs that they support, and they're needed. And Cardinals Care has always done a good job of reaching out.
He loved baseball, and he was committed to helping others.
He passed away in January at the age of 85. The tournament that was named for him in 2012 continues to grow. 108 golfers, Cardinal alumni, and Savage's family came to celebrate the man.
That's how you determine what impact that you've had on people, by the number of people that show up to honor you.
It gives us a tremendous pride, and we miss him.
Just loved being around people, loved being around the ballpark, and he loved golf. And, it's just, I know he would be happy if he was here today.
Mizzou football was back on the field today inside their new $33 million training facility. It's a big year for Coach Drinkwitz and the Tigers, and they know it. Their motto this year is something to prove. They want the rest of the SEC to take note.
We know that we've had talent on this football team. We want to prove that collectively we belong in our league and can play better than we have and produce better results than we have. But the only way they're going to see it is the results on the field. They're not going to believe us because we say it. They want to see the results. So instead of talking about it, it's about time to be about it.
And that'll do it for sports tonight.
Thank you, Corey. Back to school shopping sticker shock. How much more parents will spend this year? Plus, the big savings this weekend only. The Show Me State is one of the best states to retire. A new survey from Bankrate ranks Missouri 4th, following Iowa, Delaware, and West Virginia. Illinois ranks 17th. The survey considered factors like affordability, crime, and health care. Back to school shopping is expected to set records this year. According to the National Retail Federation, it will be the most expensive ever. The average family will spend $890, $25 more than last year. A YouGov CNET survey found 43% of parents plan to finance their haul of supplies and clothes. And you can save on your back to school shopping this weekend in Missouri. The state is holding its annual tax-free holiday. From Friday to Sunday, you will not have to pay state or local taxes on items like clothing, school supplies, and computers. Thank you so much for being with us. For 5 on your side at 10, The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next. Start your day with Today in St. Louis beginning at 4 a.m. and have a great tomorrow.